Let's be honest, we all saw Ana de Armas in that Bond film and knew she'd slay an action role. Ballerina, an assassin trained in the traditions of the Ruska Roma organisation, sets out to seek revenge after her father's death. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty certain this John Wick spin-off takes place between the story of John Wick 3 and John Wick 4. Not that those movies don't all blend together for me anyways. But Ana de Armas takes centre stage, a young girl brought up through the ranks of this sus organisation that disguises itself as a ballet school in one of the John Wick films. And we essentially just watch her go on a revenge killing spree. And it's a lot of fun. Honestly, at this point, 5 movies into the franchise, these films still find new and interesting ways to beat the shit out of people. I don't think I was honestly expecting all that much. A huge chunk of this film was shot back in 2022. I mean, hell, a lot of this has Lance Reddick in it still, who sadly passed away early 2023. And just went through some major reshoots, and I've heard it's been a bit of a mission for this to get over the line. But honestly, I would have never have guessed having just seen it, because besides it being a tad too long, it's fairly well paced, with a pretty simple story. You know, bad guy kills family, we want to hunt them down, save a kid in the process. And then to probably what you'd expect, you just get a shit ton of action scenes littered throughout to keep you engaged with what's going on. And as I said, the shit that's going on is varied and spiced up enough to all feel different. The opening act, you get into it within the first 5 or so minutes. It's a great sequence. Can't wait for that dude to spin off too. And I don't want to go too much into detail on the things that happen, but if you've seen the trailers, you've seen the flamethrowers, and yeah, that stuff was incredible. What I really liked is that whereas John Wick feels precise and professional, the ballerina, Eve, I think the character's name is, she's just starting out in this, and she's a novice, and in doing so, she's just having to adapt whilst using anything around her as an appropriate weapon of mass destruction. Belted grenades, swords, kitchen knives, pans. It feels chaotic, which also makes it a bit funny as well. And don't get me wrong, I know John Wick gets an absolute beating in his films too. That tradition's carried on here. I'm sure someone somewhere will put together a compilation of all the times Eve gets smacked the shit out of and screams in anger. She never feels invincible, and she's also perplexed by how nonsense some of the things are going on around her. I genuinely think she's a good lead in this. Dialogue is a bit hit and miss, much like the other Wick films, but then similarly, the camera work is very consistent and easy to follow. Long drawn out shots with nothing cut to death, making you appreciate the effort and the rehearsals that must have gone into getting these fight scenes right. Especially when it came to the flamethrower scenes. God, some of these shots of people on fire just lingered for so long. Fair play to the stunt crew for being lit on fire for that length of time. Oh god, I swear to god, there's this dog next door that's just been barking for the last 20 minutes. It's so distracting! Actually, yeah, speaking of which, sound design probably deserves a shout out as well. As per the John Wick films, every punch, gunshot just sounds intense and powerful. Always helps sell those fights. And speaking of the man himself, the trailers also spoil his involvement as well. And to be fair, I thought he'd play a small part than what he actually does. He gets a couple of small moments to do his John Wick shenanigans, and I love seeing the comparison between the amateur and the all-time GOAT. Plus, it's always just great to see Keanu return. McShane and Lance Reddick play small roles in this too, and they're the same as ever, though it hits home knowing that this was Lance's final film. And then you have Norman Reedus, who I expected to be in this way more, and I'm wondering if his stuff was maybe part of the reworks, as in they took more of his stuff out maybe. Aside from that, and maybe needing 10 minutes or so cutting out to keep the runtime down, I do think this is an easy action film to recommend to fans. It holds up to the rest of the series. If not, I think it even places better than a couple of them. So yeah, that's Ballerina. It came out last weekend, so let me know if you already had a chance to see it, and if so, what your thoughts are down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, feel free to leave a like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews on movies, anime and video games. Until next time guys, take care. See you later.